Hey guys, Mary Meet, and welcome to this episode of Bewitching the Moon. And it's May, and May is this really cool month. It's like kind of the end of spring, beginning of summer, and we're starting to, we've planted those seeds in the early spring. We have watched the flowers bloom in April. May, Beltane just passed, and Beltane is all about flowers and kind of the joy of that new life coming forth. And now we're towards the end of the May. We're starting to think about summer. We're starting to think about the work that we have to do, like the real work that we have to do to grow, okay? It's not just the easy, pretty blossoming, but this is the actual growth, and growth can be painful. And that's really what the energy is about right now. I should say the full moon is tomorrow, May 10th. I'm recording this the day before at 5:42 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So really, when I'm filming this, it's about 24 hours from now. So we are in the energy of the full moon. And we started with the new moon in Taurus, and that was a very kind of a grounded, earthy energy where for me, I was thinking about things in my home. Okay, I was thinking about things that I needed to deal with here. And I also was thinking about my finances and about how to create prosperity for myself this summer. So I did a couple things on both of those. My original intention was to start a daily spiritual practice. And I didn't do that. I still draw my daily tarot card every day. I try to meditate, but kind of don't have the focus for it. But what I did is I actually kind of grew my spirituality in practical ways, earthy ways, Taurus ways, okay? I went to a Beltane celebration where I didn't know anyone, but I went with my husband and a close friend. And it was kind of a weird situation, unsocially awkward. I kind of tried to say hi to people, but I don't think I was loud enough. I don't think I was friendly enough. They didn't really try to say hi to me except for one woman who was very sweet. I don't know, so there wasn't a lot of interaction. So me, my husband, and my friend, we went and just put down a blanket and we just played in the lake. We didn't really interact, we didn't really do anything. And it was kind of awesome. It was kind of sad because I wanted to meet people, but it was kind of great at the same time because we had a great time. We had a lot of fun, and I got to really kind of hang out with this friend that I really dig. So it turned into a good thing. And we kind of planted the seeds because we were both talking about how we would like to do smaller group rituals and celebrations, maybe not as part of a coven, but like as a smaller group. And so that kind of planted the seeds for some things that I think are going to come up and be really important to me. So it was a really neat time. And yeah, so I did that. I did a lot of research on videos that I want to do. I've got this new series that I'm going to be doing. I think I'm going to skip this week. I wanted to start it this week so that I could just kind of replace Bewitching the cards and kind of fill that gap, but I think I'm giving myself a week just because I know I can do it better next week. I know I'll have more, I'll be more prepared. So yeah, so, and I had that duality of Inanna and Hecate in my mind. So that's been like a really big theme for me. So while I wasn't doing things as far as like a daily practice or like upping my meditation game, I have been very spiritually focused. So that's been really cool. I also, like I said, have been focused on creating prosperity for myself. And I tweaked my Etsy page. I did a little bit of promotion, just kind of dipped my feet in with promotion. And I actually did this thing that I had never done before called sigil shoaling. If you're interested in chaos magic, look up sigil shoaling. And it was really interesting. It was a really neat experience. And I feel really good about it. I feel good about what I did. I feel like there are some things that are kind of going to come to fruition from that. So I'm not going to go into it. I'm not qualified to go into it, but look it up. Do some research. Yeah, there are just some really neat things that you can read about that, and it was really interesting, so I dug that. So we are working towards the flower moon. The flower moon is tomorrow, and again, it's all about what is flowering, what is blossoming, and looking forward to the work that we're going to have to do to grow. So we're also, it's kind of weird, the moon is going to be in Scorpio. So we started in Taurus, which is a very earthy, practical place, but we've moved into transformative Scorpio, okay? So Scorpio is very much about the deep things, the hidden things, okay? Delving into those, bringing them to the surface so that we can deal with them. And yeah, I mean, it's a great time to deal with deep emotional things, to do shadow work, to deal with the things that we don't like about ourselves. And also, you know, it's kind of a great way to bring that stuff up so you can release it, okay? You can regenerate, you can rebirth yourself, all right? Scorpio is nothing if not transformative. And it's also about sex. So, yay, a little bit of that Beltane energy carrying over. I'm going to milk that as much as humanly possible because, you know, as everyone has seen, my husband is gorgeous. And, yeah, so I'm going to use him for my own deviant purposes. So, we are also in the Celtic tree month of Willow, and it's so... there's this convergence of these energies because Willow is about the same sort of thing. It's about like lunar energy and water energy and deep emotional energy. It's about kind of that churning water of emotion that we don't necessarily understand, that kind of scares us, but that we need to deal with. So again, it's about releasing emotions, all right? It's about releasing grief, okay? It's about witchcraft, okay? Because it's in the darkness that the magic happens a lot of times, and you have to go deep to find that, okay? And the Willow moon and the moon in Scorpio, all that energy is coming together to bring that. And it's weird because I've been talking to a lot of people who are going through these crazy changes, some good, some not so good. And everyone is feeling this deep need to examine themselves on a very deep, intense level. Some people are not liking what they find. But if you can deal with that, you can grow from it and you can move on. So yeah, again, and it's about letting go of the past and about healing. So again, it's very transformative, not easy stuff, not easy to deal with, but incredibly important. So as for me, for my full moon, I one of my kind of practical, goals in the physical realm was to put together my Hecate and Inanna altars. And I have done that. And I waited until the last minute to do it. I really did that yesterday. So it still counts. It's still in that 2-week period. So I still feel good about it. And I'm going to actually show you how those turned out at the very end. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to make devotional incense for Hecate and Inanna. And I will use that on those altars, and I will burn that as a devotional practice to them. So, yeah, and it's really weird how much of a crossover there is, because, and I explained this before, but they both deal with death, and I have dealt with a lot of death and a lot of loss and the transformation that comes from that. But Inanna went to the underworld and was rescued, and she came back. So she's very into things that are life-affirming, like love and sex and, war and the harvest. And so she kind of went to the dark place and came back. Hecate stays in the dark place, okay? She's always there. She is the goddess of magic and the ancestors and those who have passed, and the magic that we can find in the darkness. So they're two sides of a coin, and I've really been working with that energy, and especially in relation to a vision I had a very long time ago, and I explained that actually in an old YouTube Pagan Challenge video. It's the one about using psychedelics, where there's this force of light, this force of dark, and it's a question of which one you're going to embrace, or are you going to try to keep a foot in both worlds? So that's where I'm at. So that is my shadow work, I guess, that I've been doing, that I've been involved in. So I'm going to make this incense, and hopefully you'll try it with me. Let me know how it goes for you. But I will be back in a few minutes with all my ingredients and we'll get started. Okay, bye. Hey guys, we're back, and as you can see, we are doing a lot, okay? I have a lot of ingredients going into both of these recipes, and I don't know, they're my goddesses. I think they're worth it. You know, I don't know what else to tell you. I do tend to go for a more complicated recipe because I really love blending incense. I guess that's the best explanation I can give. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and light some charcoal because sometimes I like to burn the ingredients as I'm making these because it just gives you a real sense for what it's going to contribute. And so it's a good idea to really know what you're adding, and that will help you kind of figure out your proportions as you're making it, especially when you're just making up a recipe. All I have is a list of ingredients I wanted to put out in this. I didn't really set up any kind of a quantity or, you know, 3 parts of this and 2 parts of this. I don't know. We're just going to kind of see what happens. So now, when I did research for incense for Inanna, I really wanted to try to find something that would have been used back in Sumerian times in her actual worship. And the only kind of incense, the only thing that came close was kind of like a Babylonian incense. And the Babylonian incense had cedar, which I've got here. It had cypress, which I've got a little bit of cypress here. It had juniper berries, which I have here. And it had something called tamarisk. And tamarisk is not something that's available now. So, yeah, so I just kind of found that interesting. Now, cedar is one of the 2 things that both incenses are going to have in common. And as I mentioned, both of these are goddesses who have dealt with death, who have dealt with loss. And cedar and cypress, and this was actually collected in a graveyard, they both, you find them in graveyards a lot. You find them kind of at the gates to the world of the dead, if you will. So it makes sense. You know, again, like I said, Inanna went to the underworld and she came back, okay? Hecate kind of lives there. And I do have my Inanna ingredients over here and my Hecate ingredients over here. That's why I'm kind of gesturing like that. But so cedar and cypress are something that both have in common. And this is just cedar shavings. They're still really fresh. I bought like a huge bag. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and blend this up, and I'm just going to divide it in half and just spread it between both bowls. So let me go ahead and do that. And I will fast forward through the bits where I'm blending this, because I'm sure that's going to be kind of obnoxious to listen to. So, all right, and what we have is sawdust, essentially. And I don't know, I could have gotten that finer, but I don't care. I kind of like a little bit of texture, so I'm okay with that. So we're going to try to split this up evenly. So and again, I'm not measuring much of anything, so, you know, I am going to write it down, though, as I go along. So, say that's like 3 parts of cedar for each one. Okay, and it looks pretty even. Alrighty. So, actually, let me write this down while I'm thinking about it. 3 parts of cedar on both. Okay, now for the graveyard cypress, I have needles and bark. Oh, it still smells really good. I'm going to use both. I'm going to use all of this because, again, you know, and cedar is actually a type of cypress. Okay, usually when you see cypresses here in North America, you see like the Leland cypress, the landscaping cypress. But cypress is a large family that includes cedar. So it is kind of similar to what we have going here, but again, it's just another tree that you see a lot in any kind of cemetery, or it's just very tied to the underworld. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up. Alright, the bark didn't actually blend. So, that's fine. We're just going to use these needles, and we did knock off a little bit of the bark. So, this is 1 part of cypress for each. And it still has the residue from that prosperity incense that I made not that long ago, so it smells amazing. I'm just going to take that bark out. We'll deal with that later. So, we have cedar and cypress, and it already just smells amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's good shit right there. So, that was 1 part each. Let me write that down. Alrighty, so who should we start with first? Let's start with Hecate, I guess, because Hecate came to me earlier. And as we discussed earlier, when I made that Hecate oil, something I found out is that lavender has been used in her worship. It's been used as an offering for her. And I love that because it's just something that was around then. And it smells amazing. It's really hard to open. It smells amazing. This is, yeah, oh God, it smells so good. And yeah, I mean, wouldn't you take something that smells so good and use it for your goddess? I mean, it just makes sense because it was available then. And I'm very much into the location of deities' worship and like what sort of ingredients they would have had available and what they would have used. And lavender works with Hecate. And I'm using my skull bowl. I don't know if you can see that, but it totally makes sense to me. So go ahead and add in some heaping spoonfuls because I think this is going to be, yeah, I just added 2. I think this is going to be really good, so let me mix that up. And you know what, had I thought about it, I might not have even blended that because lavender buds are so tiny. It would have made sense just to leave them. So this looks like 3 parts, yeah, because I was using like half teaspoonfuls, so 3 parts of lavender. Let me add that. Alrighty. So, now we've got one of my favorite herbs and something I use all the time, and that is mugwort. And mugwort, it's used for scrying, it's used for divining, it's actually a little bit of a sedative, but it kind of gets you into a meditative headspace, and so it's really good for that. It kind of blocks out all the extra crazy so that you can really pay attention to messages that are coming through. And I like that. And I use, or I don't use, but I think of Hecate a lot when I'm divining, when I'm reading tarot cards, when I'm doing things of that nature. So this really kind of goes along with that for me. And you know what, this is fine enough. I'm not gonna mix this. I'm just gonna add this in, and we're gonna go with 2 parts. It is a little bit fluffy, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly what 2 parts are in relation to what a part was of the other ingredients, but 2 parts of that. And again, mugwort is good. It's great for teas. I use mugwort and wormwood a lot for teas for that purpose, for divination. So, later on, I'm going to add ashes for the offering that I made to Hecate. I think it was on Samhain. And that's going to be kind of a separate thing that I'm going to do. Mostly, not because I don't want you guys to see it, but mostly because those ashes are in my Book of Shadows, which is under some things, and I don't want to dig it out right now. I went kind of crazy running around, like, trying to find all these ingredients, and I'm just not, I just don't want to dig that out right now. But I will. And I'm going to do this, you know, I'm going to make it, I'm going to bless these and make them very, do it kind of ceremonially. So it'll be really important to me and really sacred. So that was the word I was looking for. So now one thing I am going to use, I'm going to use a lot of this. I'm going to use this entire ounce, is myrrh. And this is actually not true myrrh. This is sweet myrrh, which is also known as Apoponax. And this is a lot, this has a really good feminine energy. Okay, it's got like that whole sacred female energy. frankincense, I'm not crazy about frankincense because it's very masculine, okay? It's very solar, it's very strong and citrusy, and I just don't love it. I've never loved it. And regular myrrh can kind of get a little bit of that same feel. This is much sweeter, much softer, much gentler. And also, you know, I found it listed as, in several places, as corresponding to Hecate. So, great, I'm going to use it. So I'm just going to use that entire ounce. Look at that lump. It's crazy. It's got leaves in there, sticks and twigs. This is going to smell great. And I love resin. I love using resins in incense. That is kind of like the backbone of a really good incense for me. So let me blend that up. Okay, that's not working so well because this is a huge chunk and it's just rolling around in the grinder. So let me go find something. We're gonna break this up. I don't know. We'll try this. Let's see how this goes. Aha! I finally got it. Now, nothing is ever easy with Hecate, and I think she wanted me to work for it. So I have it in some smaller chunks, and hopefully that'll blend up. So let's give that a shot. And let me show you. Look at that beautiful, shiny, glossy resin inside. So pretty. Alright, well, there are still chunks in here, but I'm tired of messing with it, so we're going to work around it. So there is a chunk. I'll just leave that out here for now. So we've got 1, 2. Man, this is going to be a lot. I think we're going to get 3 parts of myrrh out of this. I've still got some in the top part. But you know what? I really, again, I love resins. Yeah, this is 3 parts easily. Resins are really what elevate an incense. I mean, you can make incense out of just powdered herbs, but it's the resin that makes it special, that makes it kind of a lasting scent, and that adds that richness to it. You know, we've got 4 parts of myrrh. And I'm okay with that. Yep, 4 parts of myrrh. That's cool. I'm down. Let me write that. We had 4 parts of myrrh. And let's see, this is kind of just something I'm throwing in just for kicks. And this was recommended. I found this in a recipe for Hecate incense. And I was like, wow, really? And then the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to me. And this is spearmint. And spearmint kind of, oh wow, man, that's some good shit. Spearmint kind of, to me, it makes me think of the cold, of the dark, of the night. It's got that kind of mintiness to it. And I can imagine, it's more of an intuitive thing. I can imagine it, smelling it in the night air as you're waiting by the crossroads, waiting for Hecate, and you've got that kind of coldness to it. So we're going to go, I think this is going to end up being like 1 part. Put the stem in. The stem smells amazing. It all smells amazing. So yeah, so it's just going to add that little bit of coolness, of the night air, and you know, the fear that comes along with that. You know, is something going to come along and get me while I'm out here? And that's what Hecate is about. She's about the magic and the transformation in death and, you know, also in fear. Yeah, so we're going to go for just 1 part of that, so. And let me try to light this charcoal again. because I do want to sample this. I'll probably burn a little bit of the Hecate incense while I'm making the Inanna and see like what adjustments need to be made. So there we go. There we go. Okay, we're lit up now. Yeah, and that definitely brings out the coolness, that kind of feeling of the night air. It's got that little bite to it. It smells so amazing and fresh. I love it. I think it's really good for this blend. Okay. So yeah, that really works. I've got a stem here, so I'm going to mix that up with whatever I'm doing next, which is, and this is an ingredient that I don't use nearly enough. I actually wanted to use patchouli for this because I wanted something to tie her to the earth. Okay, she's kind of the, I don't even know how to pronounce it, chthonic goddess, the underground goddess, the, you know, she's tied to the earth, the underground is in the earth. You know, there's an earth component to me, right? So I wanted to add patchouli, but I could not find my patchouli. So sometimes you substitute what you have. And my friend Amanda made this candle that had oak moss. And I had forgotten how much I love oak moss. I mean, it smells so amazing. And I think Hecate would be fine with this because it's got that kind of earthy, dark, rich, mysterious scent to it that you kind of can't figure out exactly what it is. So we're going to use a couple hefty pinches of that. And I did look it up. You know, sometimes when you have things like this, they smell amazing as an herb, but when you add them to incense, they smell terrible. But oak moss has been used in incense, so I don't think it's going to be terrible. So it's not something I've used before, but there's 3 hefty pinches, and we're going to measure it out with a spoon to see what we've got. So, okay, that didn't really blend up that well. How much do we care? It's actually pretty fine. So I'm going to say that's 3 parts though, because like the mugwort, it's fluffy. So it's really hard to tell. So, okay, 3 parts of oak moss. It mixed up a little bit at the bottom there. Alrighty. Okay, now the last ingredient, yeah, this is the last, is I'm going to use an anise star. I'm going to use 2 anise stars. I love anise. This is used to me for divination. I'm going to use 3. Let me smell this. Yeah, I feel like it can hold up to 3 anise stars. So, again, anise is for divination, for revealing hidden things. Oh goody, I might be allergic to something in there. That's fun. So yeah, 3 anise stars. Oh god, that smells so good. So really, I mean, those just blended down to like 1 part of anise. So yeah, it's not like 1.5 parts maybe. But yeah, it's not like there's so much of it. You know, it's once you are actually mixing it, it kind of breaks down quite a bit. So I'm sorry, that was obnoxious talking while I was tapping on the thing. But yeah. All right. So, I always forget to look in the actually grinder part. I was just looking at the top. And the heat from the blade is kind of like solidified some of the myrrh, so I don't know. It's okay. But here's what we've got in honor of Hecate. Part of me thinks that I should just kind of mix the whole thing together try to break that oak moss down, but you know what? I'm okay with it because it does have that kind of mossy look, like trees that you would find in a graveyard. It kind of adds that little bit of mystery to it, so I'm down with that. Okay. Yeah, holy shit, if you guys could smell this, and my charcoal has still not lit up. I thought we had it. Keeps trying. Okay. Well, you know what, we may have a segment where I burn this later. Yeah, that's really good. So I'm going to fill this adorable little bottle that I got to go on the Hecate altar. And I will fast forward through that as well. I can't get the stopper out. It's going to be some serious editing of this video. There's a lot of these parts that are kind of boring. This will probably go out midnight or later, the night before the full moon, so. Okay, this is perfect. I made just enough to fit in here. That really worked out. Awesome. So, Hecate incense is done. And again, I'm setting up my altars here at my desk, so I'll have an Inanna altar there, a Hecate altar there, and these will be on those altars, so. Okay, sorry guys, I took a little bit of a break. It's like 90 degrees here in my office, and I had to turn the AC on or I was going to roast to death. Yeah, but it's like real loud, so I didn't want you guys to have to hear that. So, here we go with the Inanna incense. And like I said, the recipes that I was finding were for cedar, cypress, juniper, and tamarisk. And yeah, so we've got our cedar and our cypress here. Let's start with the juniper. Oh, they smell good. Okay, I like juniper. We're gonna go for 2 parts. I know this is gonna break down to be less than what it is. So let's go for 2 parts of juniper and see how that goes. Alrighty. Yeah, this is definitely, oh my god, it smells good. This is definitely going to be a solid 2 parts of juniper, and I'm fine with that. Is this going to be, do we have 3 parts? Yeah, I mean, I was using kind of half teaspoon, so we've got about 3 parts of juniper here. That's cool. Okay, 3 parts juniper, let me write that down. Now, as far as the tamarisk, again, tamarisk is not something that we have access to here in the U.S., maybe even in modern times. It's not something that's around. But I did some research. I found it's a type of pine resin, okay? And so I thought about various things I could substitute. I thought about frankincense, but again, like I said, I'm not a huge frankincense fan. I thought about benzoin, which is very feminine and very kind of light, but it just didn't feel right. I thought about myrrh, again, like Hecate, but that didn't feel right either. So what I settled on is copal. And copal to me has that same kind of solar energy. And this is wild harvested. This is from Mountain Rose Herbs. It's very important that you find responsibly sourced copal because it's endangered and we don't want to lose it. So it kind of has that same solar energy, but it's more gentle. And when I think of Inanna, what really comes to mind for me is her coming out of the underworld and blinking in the sunlight, okay, and embracing life. And that's kind of what she is to me. Also, she is a harvest goddess, and I saw her kind of in the fields, you know, dealing with harvest and agriculture. And so that solar energy really works for her in my practice and in the way that I work with her. So we are going to use some copal, and you know, again, it's similar. It kind of has that, yeah, that good sunny energy, but without being so overpoweringly masculine, I guess, like frankincense is. So let's get 2. You know, we're going to use a lot of this because we used a lot of myrrh for Hecate. And again, I love, love, love resins. And these are my matrons. They deserve it. So, and copal is expensive, but you know, I got this 8-ounce bag and it's lasted me through a few things because it usually recipes don't call for like a ton of it. So, ooh. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. Copal actually is very brittle too and just breaks up into powder so easily. It smells so good. So, oh wow, so this turned into a lot more than I thought. But again, like the myrrh with Hecate, I love resins. I love working with resins. I'm fine with this being, it looks like at least 4 parts. And we had 4 parts of myrrh for Hecate, so that's cool. So yeah. Now, the only, you know, trepidation I had about copal is that copal is from South America. So it's not something that would have been available there, and that drives me a little bit crazy. I am a type A Capricorn. I like things to line up and to work out the way they're supposed to. This maybe didn't work out exactly that way, but I just feel like the energy is very congruent with what I'm trying to do. So it's cool. I'm pleased with this. So, okay, so 4 parts of copal. Alrighty. Now, a lot of these other things I chose because of my associations with her. Or, okay, well, let me show you, for example, barley. She came to me, I had a vision of her as a harvest goddess. Yeah. And so, yeah, she was kind of dancing over the fields. She was blessing the fields for her people. And what is that on my hand? And so, yeah, so this makes a lot of sense to me. So we're going to add, and I have worked with barley before. This is malted barley that I got at a homebrew store that I used to work at. And so it has kind of a sweetness to it. Kind of a sweet, almost its own like resiny kind of scent. So we're going to do some barley. Yeah, oh my god, and that smells so good. It adds like a real richness. So, and I guess you can tell I'm not super exact with all this. I'm like, yeah, okay, we got 2 parts, so we're using 2 parts. So, my thought on that is that these recipes are probably going to evolve. I'm going to try these. I'm going to use these incenses a lot because they are they're going to be part of a daily devotion. So, if this one doesn't work out that great, I'll try something different next time. So, that was 2 parts of barley. Alrighty, now these last 4 ingredients, they kind of go along with the traditional feeling of Inanna as a goddess of love and of sex and of pleasure, because her temples were known for being centers of sacred prostitution, which is a concept I have always loved. I love the idea of sex to heal, and sex to connect with the gods, and sex as an affirmation of life. And I feel like if more people were getting laid, there would be less war. There would be less strife and conflict. Now, the thing is, rose petals don't smell that great in incense. So we're going to add some. We're going to add them for the association, not necessarily for the scent. So let's see how much this comes up to be. We may not use all of it. In fact, I'm going to get rid of some of these. Yeah, and you know, in all honesty, I don't think roses were even around in her area again, but it's not true to the location where she was worshipped or the time that she was worshipped, but they're pretty and they smell good, so I think she'll like them. And I thought about using other flowers that had a more sexual connotation, like jasmine, but jasmine smells terrible in incense, like really, really bad. It smells like dirty feet. I don't like that, so we have high hopes that this is going to be better. So, I don't know, when it's ground up, it smells kind of amazing. So, we've got 2 parts here. We're going to go ahead and use 2 parts. Yeah, it's 2 parts. 2 parts of rose petals. Alright, now another thing that I really wanted for her, and this is like the patchouli with Hecate, I really wanted tonka beans. Tonka beans have been used for luck and blessing, but mostly for love. They have like a strong vanilla scent, which really is, you know, vanilla is an aphrodisiac. And so I really wanted to use that. Now, my local metaphysical store did not have tonka beans, and I was really frustrated, just like they didn't have patchouli. Man, it's smelling so good. So, I decided, we've had this vanilla bean sitting in our freezer for like over a year. We haven't used it yet. So we're using an entire vanilla bean. Again, these are my matron deities. They are so worth it. So, I'm going to add that in. And, you know, it's like I said, this has been sitting in our freezer. We like to freeze our herbs to keep them fresh, but I just know that now that I'm using this for incense, it's going to come up, and my husband is going to want to make, like, you know, creme brulee or something, but tough. He should have used it before now. Holy shit, you would not believe how amazing this smells. Oh my god, this is luscious. And again, I checked vanilla and incense, and it has been used in incense, so it should burn okay, because again, a lot of times you get these scents that you think are going to work, but once you light them on fire, something completely different happens, okay? And you just don't get what you want out of it. But I saw that vanilla bean has been used in incense, so I mean, that is like pure luxury. I probably should have asked before I used it for this, but again, nothing is too good for Inanna. So, just scoop it out of here. Now, it is super, super oily. Vanilla bean has a lot of essential oil. So it's going to make it kind of sticky, but hopefully if we can get it mixed in with the powder really well, that will mitigate that a little bit. You would not believe how amazing this smells. Oh my god. Okay. So that was about 2 parts of vanilla. Now here's another thing that I associate with sex. Sex and love and all those things. This is a very sensual herb to me. And I have this already powdered. I think it was actually cheaper, oh god, to buy it powdered. And again, it was responsibly wildcrafted. I mean, I go through Star West Botanicals or Mountain Rose Herbs quite a lot, because they do pay attention to where they're sourcing these herbs from. And again, this is another one of those things that it's really important to make sure it's done responsibly. And yeah, so we're going to add 3 spoonfuls of sandalwood. And again, you know, a lot of people have different associations for this. This, you know, for a lot of people, it's about spirituality. For a lot of people, it's like a temple incense. It's a, you know, major part of Nag Champa. For me, it smells so divine and sexy, and I just want it around me all the time. So, I feel like, again, it's not something that would have been around during the time of her worship, but how could she not like this? Yeah, I mean, and the vanilla comes from South America, so, yeah. Oh my god, it smells so good. Alright, last ingredient. To me, this is the flame principle, okay? So you remember how I said, like, Inanna kind of, or I'm sorry, Hecate reminds me of the earth? and of kind of going within. To me, Inanna, because she has that solar kind of energy, and also that, you know, coming up into the light and seizing life and grabbing it by the balls, if you will. I like cinnamon for her. And cinnamon is good for passion, it's good for fire, it's good for that flame, you know, that getting excited about life and kind of seizing the day. So we're going to give her a healthy dose of cinnamon. A slightly healthier dose of cinnamon. Alright. That smells so good. So we've got about 2 parts of cinnamon. I didn't write down sandalwood, which was 3, and cinnamon 2. Oops. I have just drawn on myself with my pen. That's cool. That's where the magic happens, is in the little silly things we do to ourselves. Alright. Oops, we got some more over here. There we go. And, you know, here's the thing. Cinnamon and vanilla, we know that's a good combination from baking. So this is going to be kind of amazing. Alrighty, so I'm going to put this in the bottle, and then I'm going to try to light my charcoal here, and I'm going to fill my altars with the incense on the altars. So I will be back in a little bit. Hey guys, I'm back, and I am filming this upright, so I'm not sure how this is going to look on the video, but I wanted to show you guys. This is my Inanna altar. And I got this picture of her. I don't know where. I got it on Etsy, but I don't remember who. I think it's Sacred Arts. And I have stones to represent Inanna. I've got this gorgeous piece of carnelian. And I love carnelian. It just represents life and passion and motivation and kind of activity and all those good things. Very life-affirming things that I think of when I think of Inanna. And then I've got a garnet. Garnet for passion, for strength, and yeah, just really passion is what garnet represents to me. So it's not really focusing very well. So, and I'm holding this by hand, so I'm sorry if it's shaky. And then amber, and again, amber represents the sun. So it's kind of like, I imagine Inanna coming from the underworld, blinking in the sunlight, you know, and she's known as the evening star or the morning star. She's associated with Venus, but I associate her a lot with the sun and with that golden, pure life energy. So I've got a couple quartz crystals over here. There's the incense I made and the candle. And then these are some prayer beads that I made for her. And I found this charm. I'm sorry, it's hard to do this with one hand. I found this charm on eBay. This beautiful Inanna charm. And then made these carnelian and garnet prayer beads for her. So yeah, the number, I want to say there's 133. I may be making that up. I did try to use kind of a sacred number for that. And then I just have this little red jar that I just added because I thought she would like it. I will probably use that. I'll probably find some sort of offering or something to her. I gotta say, her incense smells really good. It's kind of light, and my husband describes it as powdery, but it is divine. It's very, very sensual, and that is what I was going for, so pretty happy about that. So So here we're going to pan over and let's just notice this horrible mess I've got here. I still need to deal with that. Lots of rocks, lots of pens, etc, etc, etc. And then here is my Hecate altar. And I had a little bit more stuff for Hecate. I had this, the keys here. There are 3 keys that I had made. It's hard to see and I can't reach them, but they're antique keys. This card, I can't remember who did it. I'm so sorry. It's on Etsy. Just look up Hecate greeting card. And for her, I've got this skull that my friend brought me back from Mexico. You know, representing death. I've got this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous piece of labradorite. It's so hard to reach, but look at the flash in that. Not so much on this side, but God, that just glows. And labradorite for me is about change and transformation. It has always helped me through change, and it has always encouraged change when I needed it. So, you know, it's a very magical stone for that reason, because it is so associated with change. And just look at how that glows. This is an enormous chunk of amethyst that I have. Amethyst is for deep, deep, deep spirituality. And when you're dealing with death, very often it does take you to that incredibly spiritual place. And it's a little dirty on this side, but it's got some crystal points here, which I like. I kind of want to take a Dremel tool and polish this and make it into just a gorgeous glossy purple lump of amethyst, but I also kind of like the raw shape of it. So yeah, so spirituality. And again, this is hard to do with one hand. Now here I have chiastolite. And chiastolite is for protection, and Hecate was very much the goddess of protection. She protected mothers in childbirth, she protected children, women of all, you know, all sorts. But it also has this cross, and it's not super easy to see, but that's the crossroads, which is where you'll find her. That's where her magic is at the crossroads. So it's a very protective stone, and also has that Hecate cross there. So I love that. And some more quartz crystals. Her purple candle, which I'm gonna, you know, try to light this like every day, at the very least on new moons and full moons. I want this to be more of a regular altar, because, you know, I had altars for them before, but they were kind of set aside in a corner where I didn't use them much, and I'm always here at my desk. So I think I'll use this a lot more. Now her incense, that oak moss really comes through, and it smells almost musky. It's actually kind of a masculine scent, in like the sense of being masculine cologne-y kind of scent, because that oak moss. But I love it. It is so earthy and so... The spearmint didn't come through all that well, and I think that I would use a little bit more spearmint next time. But it is very earthy. And again, that word that I can't pronounce, chthonic, I know what it means, I can't pronounce it, but you get the gist. It really works. It really reminds me of Hecate. It's very deep and meaningful. And then so I just, you know, again, like I had the jar over there, this is a paperweight / pen holder that my grandfather gave me. And I don't know where he got it. He traveled a lot. He was the first person I really knew who died. That was the first person that I knew who joined the ancestors. And that's not entirely true, but he's the first person where I had to process his death. As, you know, not a baby. I was 12 when he passed. So yeah, so that's kind of important there, and it is something that I keep because it reminds me of him and it reminds me of my ancestors. So yeah, so that's it. And I hope you guys have a lovely full moon. I hope it's filled with all sorts of transformation, and that Scorpio energy is just amazing for you. So that's it. You guys have a great it's night for me, and bye-bye.